as we start to say goodbye to Jacob, not quite yet, but we are starting to say goodbye to Jacob, we are adopted into life. We are delivered from death. As Christians, we should not celebrate death. I've heard Christians say, at my funeral, I want a party. No, that's perverse. You don't celebrate death. Death is not the way it's supposed to be. Death is destructive. Death is not what God has created us for. God has created us for life. In Him we live and move and have our being. Death is not the way it's supposed to be. You cannot celebrate death. It's supposed to be painful. We're supposed to mourn death. We're supposed to grieve over death. Because when we look at death, we're supposed to remember sin and its consequence. We cannot celebrate death. We have to hate death. While we look at it and we mourn death and we grieve over death, we also cannot be fearful of it. Because we believe in Jesus Christ, who has died and risen again to give us hope beyond the grave. Death is not to be celebrated, but it's also not to be feared. We are not to be scared of death. It has lost its sting because Christ has conquered it. He has risen again. In Jacob, we see a great man who looks at death and he knows God's promises are true. He wants to teach his children to trust in God's promises. His last words are, God will keep you. God will be with you. God will deliver you. He's preaching the gospel. He's counseling his children with the gospel. He will not be there anymore. It doesn't matter. God will be with him. And God will deliver him. Friends, how are we talking to one another about death? It's a reality we all must face. It's a reality that will ultimately end all of our lives here. We need to be talking about how deadly and dangerous it is, how painful it is. We also must talk about the one who has conquered it to give us